Hi, and welcome to Behind the Saddle. My name's Liam, and today we've got apprentice jockey Taryn Langley. Hi, Taryn. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Have you had a couple of rides this week? I see.
Yeah, I've had 8 this week. It's not been too bad. Day off today, and we go again tomorrow.
Oh, amazing. So let's just take it right back to the start, Taryn. How did life how did you get involved in horses?
Horses was my mum. She's been in racing all her life, and I think she was very keen for me to learn to ride. And yeah, I mean, I was show jumping until I was 15. Yeah, still show jump now when I've got the time. But yeah, show jumping first. Lockdown hit, and my mum was a racing secretary for Joseph Chute, so I had nothing to do. I was probably meant to be doing schoolwork, but they said come in and sit on a racehorse, and I think the rest is pretty much history. So yeah, it'd be my mum to be the biggest influence, I'd say.
And obviously, I know a lot of jockeys go to different racing schools. Like obviously, we've got the British Racing School, and obviously the National Horse Racing College. Was that never something that interested you, or obviously your mum's heavily involved in racing, isn't she?
Yeah, I mean, I never, if I'm honest, took an interest in it until I had to go for a license. It wasn't an option of going there to learn to ride or ride a racehorse. Joe Tute had enough horses, the quiet horses, for me to learn on. So it never really crossed my radar until I had to go and come back with a license.
So obviously, was there a moment when you grew up? Obviously, I know you mentioned show jumping. Was there ever, well, obviously, what swayed you to go into more obviously being a jockey than in show
Um,
jumping?
I think like I'd always been involved, or I'd always gone racing with mum growing up. She's until she was back in Lambourne in 2020. She was always in jump racing, so I was always going here, there, and everywhere to watch jump racing. Um, but I think when it came to the realization of, unless I come up with 10, 15 owners for top class show jumpers, I am going to find it very hard to invest in the sport. My dad owns jump horses, but if you said put that money into show jumping, he'd laugh and say no, I've got no interest.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, if I'm half okay, I think there'd be more of a level playing field in racing. If you work hard, that's half the battle, and the second battle is if you're good enough, you'll make it, and if you don't, you don't. But it's an industry that there are hundreds of jobs in different avenues. So I just thought, look, I'll give it a go, and if it turns out to be I am good enough, great, and if not, well, I can stay in the industry and still be involved. It was never a dead end career per se.
No, amazing. Obviously, what was that feeling like when you finally did get your license?
Yeah, it was great. I half didn't think I was ever good enough. So I went amateur first because I was still in school. I was still in school till I was 18.
Yeah.
Um, and my mum and Joe both said, "Look, just go and get it, and have like you ride well enough, have a go." And yeah, it was great. It was sort of I didn't know what to expect because you can ride work at home and you can go up a gallop and you can jump a horse, but they're all completely different to when you get in a race. But no, it was great, and it was sort of like the next chapter in sort of my journey with horses, really.
No, definitely. And obviously, you did before you mentioned your mum being a big inspiration to yourself. Is there anyone that when you was 15, 16, you did look up to? And obviously, I've seen in posts before, you've obviously mentioned the likes of Hayley Turner. Obviously,
Yeah,
Holly Doyle's quite a big jockey.
yeah, like on the flat scene, you definitely got to look at Holly, Haley, even Josie Gordon. I mean, she was the first female champion apprentice. They were all they were on the radar even from a younger age. And even the girls coming through when I was watching jump racing growing up, it was never it was never like, oh my, they're always there, and you always look at them. And I was 2020, and I was watching Holly and Hayley ride, and I was thinking, oh, actually, like that's really like cool. Like,
Yeah.
it's not impossible.
Yeah.
And the doors are opening up more and more. So watching, even sort of, Safi as well, watching them all come through and push the boundaries even more. It's definitely gonna help me, and the likes in the same shoes as me at the minute, and the ones coming up behind me. It's great. You just gotta think, if you work hard enough, it can happen.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, and obviously there's a lot more. Obviously, there's a lot more up and coming women jockeys, which is really good for obviously the sport in general. How proud are you of that?
Yeah, look, it's great. For the amount of trainers, owners, and people I know have told me how male dominated it was through 80s, 90s, 2000s. It was, their I think the opinion is very much the same. It's got to happen, and it's good that it is happening. And the sort of mentality of owners and trainers are changing, and us girls have got to put those boys in their place. It is hard, but no, look, it's good, and it is going the right way, slowly but surely.
No, definitely. I'm not mistaken. Are you at David Simcock's yard?
Yeah, so apprentice to David. I've coming up to my first full year. He's great, and I can come and go as I please, as long as I'm there to gallop his horses, and sort of let him know where I'm riding out, this, that, and the other. It's working, and it's worked last season. He's given me some great opportunities and some very nice winners. So no, look, very happy, and we'll see where this season goes with him.
The atmosphere like at David's yard, obviously, because I know obviously it's the people that come up to you as well, like obviously the younger generation, obviously who may want to be a jockey, but obviously I know looking at it, there's a lot more careers, not just being a jockey, than for racing, isn't there?
Yeah, oh God, there's so many careers. I mean, you could be in the background on the admin side of racing, and working for the BHA or arena racing or the PGA. There's so many different avenues you can take and still be involved. Us jockeys in town, we all use the Injured Jockeys Fund and the Peter O'Sullivan House. I mean, they're all in there giving us rehab and strength and conditioning, but they're all still very much involved in our sport as we are. So it's like, that was always my sort of my game plan. There was never going to be a dead end within racing, because there is so much you can do. And I think that's sometimes forgotten. I think I've spoken to a lot of, like, a few girls and younger people in racing, and they've sort of thought, well, I'm not good enough to be a jockey, so I might just leave the industry. Well, no, we've got to try and keep as many as we can in it, because there aren't, the be all and end all isn't being a jockey. Like, for instance, you could be a head traveling lass or lad, and you could go around the world. There's so much more to it than riding on a racetrack and trying to beat your lad upside you. So no, I think sort of need to sort of almost let people know that there is more to it than just getting on the track.
No, definitely, and I feel like you've got to have that, obviously, not give up attitude, haven't you? What do you feel like you've got to have for being a jockey? What do you feel like you've got to be as a person, mentality wise?
I think you've got to be very, very open. You've got to take the good with the bad, and when the bad comes, you've got to sort of take it on the chin and not take it to heart. Obviously, learn from it, if there is a lesson to be learned. I think you've just got to work hard. You've got to take the days where you're riding 6 horses in the freezing cold, and you're thinking, I'm not riding this week, but when am I going to ride? And you just have to keep going, because the penny does drop. you know, racing, you're always on TV. It just takes one ride and one horse, and that's it. You can start rolling. I think you've just got to want it enough, and just not get too hung up on the bad. Because don't get me wrong, running up, being an apprentice, and even before you get your license, it's like there are days where you just think, what am I doing it for? And I think that's throughout your entire career. Because it's sport. Sport is up and down, and every good sportsman or woman have to take the bad and pick themselves up and go again. I think you just have to be strong-willed and just hardworking. If you want it enough, it will be there. And
definitely. I'd say I think there's been a lot of, obviously, especially the last couple of weeks, there's been a lot of talk, obviously, regarding mental health and stuff like that. Obviously, we've had some really sad stories in the sport. Do you think the sport's doing enough, and if so, or if not, how do you think we can go about it?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's not been the greatest of weeks for a few of us, but we have got the sort of network behind us to use, which is great. You know, they are there for us to go to. You know, I think the whole social media aspect of it it can be very damn right brutal. But I think it's going to be very hard to stop that. It's within every sport. You know, I think every sport has their own sort of microclimate, and you think, well, the footballers over there won't be getting the same abuse I am, but they are in reality. You know, I think maybe we could have sort of closer monitoring, and also almost we have to actually sit down and talk about it and how we actually are. Sort of, they were, you know, maybe the network was a little bit more onto us, so we could actually say. But I think, you know, the whole thing with talking and mental health, it's going to be, it's not the easiest, and some people will be easier than others. So I think, there probably are things that could change. But the sport as a whole, the networks are there behind the scenes through the PGA, you know, Jets, as well as the IGF. They are there for us to go to, you know, and that's, you know, more than grateful for. So, I think there are a few things that could be tweaked. But it's more of the whole social media aspect, and again, sports psychology and mental health. It's a massive minefield, and we will cope with it in different ways.
No, definitely. I mean, obviously, there is some amazing organisations out there, the ones you have mentioned, and obviously, if people out there are struggling, don't be afraid to speak out.
Oh God, no, absolutely. You know, I think every single one of us would prefer our best mate or you know, someone in that weighing room. They don't even have to be very close to them, but for them to cry on our shoulder and say we are not okay, then to lose them. You know, there's absolutely no shame or, you know, weakness in saying you're not okay. And I think that's there is a stigma around that, in saying, especially you know, within male dominated sports, that saying you're not okay is some sort of weakness. Well, it's not. It's completely the opposite. Saying you're not okay and battling that in the right way and is only a building block of yourself. You know, like I just said, you know, we prefer someone to speak up and say this is what's going on than us ending up mourning them. It's just you know, it's that's the whole thing. You all wish it would be that easy. It's not.
No, definitely. No, and I totally agree with everything you just said there. I really do. So let's just take it obviously into the jockey's life point of view. What's it like for yourself? Obviously, waking up in the morning to going to bed at night. What's it like in a day in the life of Taryn?
Um, yeah, so every day is different. Sort of wake up 5:30. If I'm in, it depends which yard I'm in, but let's say I'm in at David's, I'll be in for anywhere between 8:10 and 20 past. Go in and right, for him, he'll put me on as many lots as he needs me for. So it could be 2 or it could be 4. So I'll go in, ride those, and then depending on the window between me leaving David's and going racing, I'll either get straight in the car, get changed, go straight in the car and go racing, or I will go to the gym and have a bit of a gym session with the team at the IGF, and then go racing. We all have an afternoon meeting rather than an evening meeting, so
Yeah,
it also depends where we are in the country. So you'd go racing, you'd ride your horses, and then if you're local, you'd be back in the summer, early
yeah,
evening. If you're up north or down south in an afternoon or evening meeting, then you'll be back a lot later. You could be back 10 to gone midnight. It all very much varies. And then you get up and you go again the next day. It's very much a relentless grind all year round, really. We say we have a season from March to October, but we're still doing the same routine through the winter.
yeah.
The routine's probably even longer because there's a lot of evening racing, and they're all so spread out, these all weather tracks.
Yeah, no, definitely. And obviously, it's fascinating to speak to obviously jockeys because pretty much you all do pretty much the same and similar. Obviously, different jockeys and do different things. But obviously, what's like the balance obviously between obviously the nutrition? Obviously you do a lot of traveling up and down the country. How do you balance that out?
Um, for me, I mean, every jockey is different.
Yeah,
For me, it's all I try and keep the diet fairly stable,
yeah,
just in regards to weight. Obviously, try and keep yourself fit off the track as well as that only helps and helps on the track. So sort of nutrition wise, yeah, like I say, fairly balanced diet. But for all of us, it does always depend on what those scales are saying in the morning or the night before. So I think we all and myself will work around what the scales say, and sort of go from there. Some days are harder than others, sort of fueling wise, but on the whole, for myself, it's pretty stable and pretty varied.
no, definitely, yeah. So obviously you've already achieved so much in your career so far. Obviously getting your license and obviously being an apprentice jockey at the moment. This season you've had over 200 rides and obviously 20 wins for the season. Is that how you hoped it for going?
Yeah, I mean, I think going into season first off was just doing better than last year.
Yeah,
I think I got my license and I didn't have my first ride until we were sort of halfway through the last season. Season before, sorry. And so obviously I think I just wanted to go into. I spent all last winter just riding anything, the good, the bad, sort of under the radar. I think my agent's plan and my plan, and this was when I was still with Richard Hughes, and our plan was just to get the experience whilst without really firing me into anything. Just so when the chances came, so that I had a bit of experience going into it. So I mean, this season was just to hit the ground rolling and just see where I ended up. Look, every jockey will tell you after a season that they wanted more rides and
yeah,
more winners. Which I would have loved. I would have loved, 30, 40 winners.
yeah,
but as a whole, and being a female apprentice, I had a very, very good season.
No, definitely. And obviously, are you a person to obviously set yourself targets and goals at the start of the season, or obviously, after races, do you look at the races back to try and see how you can improve next time, or?
Yeah, definitely. I think every person in sport is very self-critical. So I think a lot of us watch our races back and go, I want to tweak that, or why did I do this? I should have done that. Or no, or actually no, I didn't do anything wrong, or I actually did that quite well. So no, every race I'm sort of going back through and looking and seeing what can and can't be changed. I think for next season, I'd just again try and do better than this year. I'd like to be sat here this time next year as a £3 claimer, and just trying to probably get some. I had some very good opportunities this year in big handicaps, Northumberland Plate, a few heritage handicaps in there. So definitely just trying to keep those bigger opportunities going.
What was that experience like rather than the Northumberland Plate? What was that like for you?
Yeah, it was great. Very grateful to Mr. Bell. He put me up on such a cool horse called Duke of Oxford. He's got very good all-weather form over that longer distance, and no, it was great. Going in there, we had a very, very nice chance on paper. But it's a typical 20 runner handicap on the all-weather. It's a big bun fight, and those handicaps can turn into 20-1 shots coming up from the back, like it was. Spirit Mixer was a big price this year. That's the fun and sort of unexpected of handicaps. But no, it was great to.
So let's just take a bit life off the track. What's when you're not riding? What's like a day in the life of you when you're not riding? I've seen you quite a bit of a TikTok star. I've seen your TikTok page.
Yeah, now and again. So yeah, feel a bit bored. No, in the summer, big into cycling. Love getting on the bike and just sort of, even when you feel like you're doing nothing really, you're just going around the countryside. It's quite nice. It's a break from everything. So yeah, cycling. Play a bit of hockey in the winter when I've got the chance on Tuesdays. And then when I go home, so back to home in the Cotswolds, go and sit on I've still got one of my show jumpers at home, so go and sit on her and just have a nice time really. So no, it is very still horse orientated or fitness orientated, but yeah, the sort of try and half slow down when I can.
Yeah. So what was life like growing up? Obviously, you just mentioned then you're from the Cotswolds. What was life like growing up in your childhood?
Yeah, I mean, look, it was fun. I had a lovely childhood. I always had a pony. Always was out every weekend doing something with them. I did a bit of boarding school for a bit. That was a great experience. And yeah, I mean, there wasn't an option to not come out of school before I was 18, so I had to bite the bullet and do that. And I mean, outside of sort of school, it was always just horses.
Yeah.
I sort of I remember when I was growing up, I was always like half like annoyed or jealous at the other girls or whoever doing all these like really cool things. And actually looking back, I probably wouldn't change any of it. I think you grow up very quickly with horses, and you have to sort of take both reins, as you'd say, and just get on with it. So no, it was good. I think I had a very, very well-rounded childhood growing up.
Yeah. That was going to be my next question. If he wasn't involved in horses, what do you think you'd be doing? What do you think? Obviously, it might be a bit of a hard question because Obviously, you've been
Yeah,
involved in horses all your life.
yeah. I mean, I think the army and the navy crossed my mind sort of 10 years ago. Definitely, that was always an interest of mine. Sort of, I always loved history growing up, and still do. So there was always that sort of interest to me. So yeah, so I mean, army or navy. Something probably definitely was sport in some
Yeah.
sense. I think there was definitely the idea of being a vet at some point, and then realised the qualifications I need for that, and thought, maybe not. There were definitely a few avenues, sort of bright ideas popping up into my head, but it was always going to be horses or some sort of sport involved.
No, base, yeah. Right. So obviously we're getting close to Christmas soon. Are you quite a big Christmas person?
Not really, I must say.
No.
No, I sort of I'd always spend Christmas at home
Yeah.
with my family, but I'm not probably a bit of a bar humbug, to be honest. It was, I could take it or leave it, in all honesty. I think the best Christmases I've had have been lying on a beach in a different country.
Well, yeah, I'm probably all
Yeah,
right.
yeah, I just, sort of, or on a ski slope. Not I'm not massive on it.
Yeah.
I think apart from Christmas dinner, it's
Yeah,
it's
that's
the
the
same.
best part.
Yeah, it's the same every year. So, but no, look, it'd be good to see family and things like it is always is.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, not. I wouldn't be mad going crazy on it now.
Nothing. So I'm just going to ask you a few quick fire questions now, Taryn, that's okay. So what's your favourite race course to ride at?
Oh, Newbury,
Favourite race horse you've ridden so far in your career?
King's Castle.
Your biggest achievement in racing?
Um, winning an ITV Sunday series up at Haydock.
Amazing. But who would you say your best mate is in racing?
Mm.
Or have you got a few?
It's gonna be whatever I say. I'd say I'm gonna have to say to both of them. It'd be either Mason Patel or Alex Egan.
Great. Favourite cheat meal to have?
Ooh, pasta. Any type of pasta. Mm.
Favourite film?
Um, Pirates of the Caribbean. Probably the second one.
Love it. One race you'd love to win in the future?
One of the classics, Derby, Oaks, St Ledger. One of those.
And what's one race horse we should all keep an eye out in the future for?
Going with, if we went with Simcox Yarders, have been in there every day.
Yeah.
Very nice. There's a horse called Ruthless Ambition, who is hasn't ran yet, but he is on spec, a very, very nice horse.
We'll all look forward to seeing him next season, hopefully. And one
Yeah.
last question, Taryn, for everyone watching out there, or people who want to get involved in not just racing, but anything to do with horses. What's one bit of advice you'd give to anyone?
Just give it a go. Even if you want to go into racing, ring the British Racing School, and just do it. You've got nothing to lose, but probably a lot to gain. Even if it's just getting on a horse outside of racing, there's so many riding schools and people that are there to help. I always think you don't ask, you don't get. So there's never any harm in asking. And racing, your best place is the racing school. They can train you up, and give you options within or alongside. So yeah, definitely just look into it and just don't be scared to not try, because you've got nothing to lose when at the beginning.
No, that's amazing advice, and obviously that's our interview come to an end today. It's been really appreciate you coming on the show, and obviously myself and Behind the Saddle wish you the very best of luck in the future.
Thank you very much. Thank you.